client sometimes. It looks like we are blessed this day. Going very smoothly, and we're on Inside and Out with our Protoss player in the bottom left from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. This is in the blue, Jieshi.
His opponent in the red, playing for Team Kaizi Gaming, the Emperor this time.
I think you're right. I think Jieshi previously has played a bit of the more gateway heavy style. I think he was certainly one of the dudes that was doing the Zest style of PBT back when that was really popular. And I wonder if that was around when he actually almost took time out in a finals. I can't recall, but it might have been.
Yeah, I think he just needs to be on point with his build here and see what's coming his way. And the defense, honestly, was beautiful when he played against Coffee. Like, not just of the big attacks, but like even before that, like small little intricate details. I think it can be risky to skip on Colossus and High Templars for a long time, but if you're really good, in particular with sentries, right? Because they provide Guardian Shield force fields, you're good with your macro. It kind of puts a lot of pressure on the Terran, right? Like, what's the Terran player's nightmare? A Protoss taking a very quick third and then defending everything you throw at him, because then he just starts pulling too far ahead and it's so hard to like recover and find any damage. So I think that's what Jieshi should aim to do. And Jieshi will probably be worried about the strong timings that time can throw at him, where he can finally find some damage himself.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it does start to feel kind of like a bit of desperation when none of your harassment works. And you're just like, okay, guess I'll die. Can't slow this Protoss down, but time, it tends to be pretty good at getting in there against the Protoss players, finding some damage, and he's actually gonna kick things off with a little bit of a proxy. He's been putting these in his play more and more recently.
This is pretty sick. He's gonna get there so fast, like towards the expansion, and I wonder what is it gonna be actually exactly. Like,
Maybe the Hellions?
Yeah, does he want to drop the Hellions? But then I guess why make it there? Because he thought it would be so unexpected that it wouldn't be found. And also, what angle do you come from? Do you go around the expansion, like drop into the main with the starports? Or could we perhaps see something else? No, it is a Medivac first. And that will get scouted. Maybe? Yeah, okay, he sees it. I think he saw the SCV and then he saw something on the minimap real fast. He's like, all right, something's going on. Still goes for the very quick third nexus. This guy does not care.
Yeah. Well, he's probably like, okay, well, what can you reasonably have to take this out? I'm just going to take it anyway. And now I know that I need to get my stalkers in position so that you can't roast my probes. The Hellions will rally down here, but straight away he's going to lift that starport, start heading home with it. Let's see if we can get anything happening here. We do have a boosted medevac, but I don't know. Can he unload everything? He does just barely get them all out. He needs some damage, though.
The Hellions need to get quite a few kills here. 4 probes, probably not enough considering he's losing all the Hellions. Can he get any more? Great micro by time pulling back the probes that were injured. Yeah, that's a dead end here. 5 probes. So good defense, I think, for Jieshi here. This guy, very impressive. He's the Chinese honey badger. You know, he's getting he's feasting on the lava. He's getting stung by the bees, but he doesn't care. He still keeps doing it. You seen that video, right?
Yeah, I have. It's a very, very good comparison. And he's actually going to head across the map with what he has left, which is a bunch of stalkers from that defense. There is a tank and a bunker here from time, so he should be all right. But yeah, that was very well slapped down from Jieshi. And it seems that he knows to be on his toes with time, because time's actually one of those Terrans where there's been some seasons we've casted him, and I swear he hasn't done the same build twice. He's just got so many up his sleeve, so it definitely pays to keep up with your scouting.
I think it's important nowadays for like all the top parents to have so many different builds. Like if you look at guys, you know, like Maru, even Special, I think it's someone that, oh, you know, he always studied TY and had like all of his builds at his disposal. You
Mm.
can't, like, once upon a time, you could actually just go for like a gasless command center, like on most maps in most matchups, and then like just try and be like really good at this. And it seemed like there was no specific like clear counter. You know, there was a couple of proxies maybe sometimes you could throw in there. Maybe they could get scouted. Whereas like now, yeah, you need to be able to do like some proxies and stuff, like keep your opponent worried and scared, and play the heavy mind games going into the series, especially in best of 5.
That's exactly right. And we have Jieshi happily mining on his 3 bases. Colossus are in the mix. We've got extended thermal lance getting close to done. Time's got a fairly fortified position here, but he's looking to take that 3rd base. Likewise, he's got his own upgrades coming in and some tanks in the mix. Oh, okay.
Hello.
All right.
Well, that
No.
honey badger is definitely not scared of anything. He finds a snipe on the tank, but he's losing so much. What the hell, Jieshi? What was that?
Yeah, that was a little confusing. He had such a clean game up until that point, but at least he didn't lose the Colossus. That's important. Gets the tank in return, but yeah, it does lose a little bit there. So bit of a clunky waltz across the map. Was the Colossus supposed to go across the map?
I don't think so. I think he
Yeah.
just reacted with the stalkers after he was like, "Oh, the Colossus is there." Probably misrallied like that. That would be
Yeah.
where the observer's going, I guess, where you rallied that
Oh,
initially.
yeah, that would make sense. Yeah,
But I'm
absolutely.
surprised that this Colossus even survives. The fact like that there was no steam, I guess.
Yeah, just by the skin of its teeth. Although I'm not sure Colossus have teeth, but he's going to knock down these rocks and start opening up some pathways, perhaps. But Time is on the move. He's coming through the middle of the map. Does have to be careful. That is a couple of Colossus, and there is extended thermal lance in the mix now. So he's sort of being chased down here. Might have to pick up and get out, but he's going to try and trade a little bit here. Oh, he gets the
Ooh.
prism.
That's pretty nicely done here. Zealots, Archons, and Colossus. No stalkers here in the area. Usually when somebody morphs Archons like this, it tells you they don't want to go for Storm at all and they want to attack. And I think if you're Time here and you see the Archons, you're like, okay, well, this guy wants to attack. I'm just going to camp like crazy, make sure he can't attack into me. And then once I have Ghost, like, I mean, you're just golden against this style. You can remove all the shields and then everything else dies so much quicker. He has so many tanks, by the way. My God.
He definitely does. Like, that's going to be a nasty push when he finally heads out on the map. We do have +1 armor about halfway done for him. We've got the armory and second NG bay coming in as well. So we're definitely looking into the mid to late game, going straight into that 2-2. And you're definitely going to need that to weather the storm that is Jieshi, because he is pretty aggressively postured here. He's almost got Blink, still getting some more Colossus in the mix. And I'm not sure what he can do here. This is a very fortified position. It's kind of scary to attack into.
Yeah, unless you have a prism that you can send. Whoa, what the hell is this Archon doing? That you can send for the main to really bring a lot of those forces out of position. There is almost no way you can attack here. What Jieshi could take this as is, okay, well, you're taking late 4th. I can just keep on expanding like crazy. Maybe take a 5th already, saturate everything. But I think Time will just be happy to be building up a strong army that he can then later on push with himself. And by being out on the map like this, you make it very hard for him to move there and set up a siege already, right, against tanks. Because if you do that, then the tanks already siege on your side of the map before you even engage, then you're in big trouble because you can't engage into that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this is the one blind spot for Time as well into his base. There is a unit on the edge there, so I'm not sure if it might have just caught the very fin of that warp prism as it went past earlier, but he does get the recall and saves it. Can't come in on the bottom right. There's a Sense Terror, so not quite able to get the harassment there. It cleans up the obs as well, which is really nice. And Jieshi, he's still sitting near this 4th base, but that's a lot of Terran. I'm not sure he wants to be there much longer.
Yeah, I don't think he was looking to particularly push or take a full-on engagement. But now that he's getting close to maxing out, double additional robo. Oh my god, he's already fully thinking about the reproduction, the resupplying of his army here. But as we have enhanced shockwaves closing to completion here, I think Time will be almost ready to take a full-on engagement. He's not actually going for it. Oh my god, he sees the army. He's like, okay, well, you can't send much there to defend. And Jieshi actually attacks because he's maxed out.
Oh man, hold on. This is actually a pretty sick concave for time though. All the gateway units with the Colossi melt. The charge slots on the right hand side haven't done too much damage. They're distracted by a bunker. The Colossi are left alone. And the Vikings aren't going to chase, but time took that out handily, losing 4 SCVs and otherwise just some units.
Time is showing that in the later stages of the game, just so confident. Like a lot of Terrans will be worried about, playing such a turtly style. They probably feel like, okay, well, I have to be aggressive. I can't let Protoss get to max out with too many bases, with all of the upgrades, with high Templars, Disruptors, Colossus. Time is like, no, the longer we go into the game, the more comfortable I'm going to be compared to this guy. And it's proving effective here so far with now his Peak Siege coming into play across the map.
Oh man, we're seeing the charge lots go around. Nice disruptor shot on that one tank. Can he get another good shot? Oh, nice spread from time. Trying to close the distance, but with Jieshi chewing away at some of those units, he does have to be a bit careful. The reinforcements trapped up in the ramp have to clean up those charge lots first. But it is quite a nice sieged up position for time. He can keep trying to leapfrog a little bit, but he's actually got a decently deep tank line, so it's going to be hard to get on top of that. But some Liberators coming into the mix back at home as well, and he is just entrenched here, firing away at the edge of those structures on the 4th base.
It's keeping him on 4 bases against 4, so that's obviously better, I think, for time here. That's really a timing where if you're Jieshi, you're supposed to be on the 5th base with a 6 on the way. He's gonna get on top of this army now, knowing that the reinforcements are on the way. But Jieshi, can he get cost-effective enough trades? Not really.
Oh man, the charge lots can't quite get through to the last 2 tanks there on the left-hand side. We still have a fair bit of bio left. There isn't too... there's a fair amount of medevacs, actually. I was going to say there's not too much healing. He's going to blink on top and get on top of those siege tanks, take them out, and the reinforcements with those medevacs need to hightail it home. It's actually not that long of a distance from the 4th base to get to Time's territory here. So he has to regroup, and yeah, a little bit too much there to commit all the way in. But Jieshi does survive that little siege on the 4th.
He doesn't want to step into the lion's den quite yet. He would have to do way better with the initial defense. And Jieshi needs to start a 5th base here. Yesterday.
Yeah, he's trying to pump the upgrades, but it looks like he hasn't quite thought about it yet. Maybe going towards that left-hand side base. And likewise, time looking to head more towards the right-hand side of the map as the next expansion. He sieges up. Do we have EMPs? We do have some on these units. Is there enough bio here? The tanks are gone. The Liberator gets taken out as well, but there's still a bunker. There's some good Sim City here as well. And time is trying to target down all the Colossi. The last one falls. There's still 2 Immortals in the mix, though.
I think he was trying to just go for it. That's why we don't see a 5th base. He was just trying to attack with everything that he's got. Time has been ahead on upgrades for a while, by at least 1 upgrade, and it's about to be a whole lot more here with 3-3 on the way. +2 attack on air weapons for those Vikings, and Drilling Claws. He's just getting everything he needs to deal with this effectively. The triple Robo is so interesting because he's getting so many Colossi here. We do have the 5th base now on the way, but he keeps morphing Archons. I think he's just trying to wear down the Ghost count. We see actually only 2 Ghosts. If there is few Ghosts, these Archons are actually pretty amazing. There are no EMPs to help get rid of them.
There's another 2 Ghosts in production, but they're not here yet. The charge lots forcing that bio back a little bit, but now Archon's on the front lines without a whole lot of friends to help him out. We've got Immortals firing in the background, doing some good work, but time just has a little bit too much rallying in. He's going to be able to take out all these forces, get the War Prism, and get the win on map number 1.
This looks like late game desperation here by Jieshi. He was like, I have to go for it. Probably could anticipate there was 3-3 on the way and just didn't have enough to break through. I mean, this last attack looked borderline side, to be honest.
Yeah, that was a really nice game from time, and I feel like Jieshi maybe, as that game went on, got a little bit impatient, wanted to sort of knock him out before the game went any further. He's like, is this the moment? Did I take out enough stuff to sort of bulldoze over him? But this is why time's so good, man. He's a tough nut to crack at any point in the game, and the late game, I think, is maybe the hardest. He really had some nice positioning there with his armies.
Do you think that maybe Coffee's watching this? He's like, that's what I have to do. I should just play this like amazing long game where I make like almost no mistakes.
Yeah, man, it's easy. You just play like time, and then you can win. All right, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be heading into map number 2 between Time and Jieshi. Welcome back, folks. It's time for more TVP action here in the China region for DreamHack Atlanta. As always, we have a match with Time in it, and he's up against Jieshi. Jieshi, a pretty solid contender for first or second place this season, we reckon, but had a bit of a rough start. He's down a map. However, not the worst game from him. He had some good moments, just a bit of a hard time getting rid of, Time. I'm always going to say Time too many times in a sentence. There we go. But yeah, we still have potentially 4 more maps. So Jieshi needs to pull out all stops, come up with a plan so that Time doesn't go up on match point here.
It wasn't that one-sided, but it just felt like the further we went into the game, the more it kept on falling behind. And by the time we got to time getting all of the upgrades, 3-3, drilling claws, and then shockwave, like it just seemed like there was almost no more chance for Jieshi without a 5th base. So maybe needs to take a little less damage to whatever attacks come his way, and maybe find more confidence in his late game, because that really seemed like he was not confident at all here. He just morphed Archons, tried to fight, but there was no way he could break time ever, it seemed like.
Yeah, he was almost getting a little over-eager to end it because he's sort of worried about what comes next there. And it is hard. Like, that's maybe just missing a little bit of finesse in the later stages of the game. And I do wonder if we'll get a long game here as well, because I think we're going into Waterfall, which is a bit of a shorter rush distance. And we've already seen Time switch it up a little bit. He went for a cheeky proxy starport in the first game, got shut down really nicely from Jieshi. But does he try and open with a little bit of aggression again, or is it more of a usual maybe poke with a Reaper and head into a more mid-game push? We'll soon find out. We're loaded into Waterfall. In the top right, in the blue trunks from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, this is Jieshi.
The opponents in the red playing Terran, dominator of the Chinese region, Kaisi Gaming, it's time. We need a long game. We need at least one. I know it's late for you guys in Australia, but passion never sleeps.
That's exactly right.
I don't want many epic games and long ones. I want one. That goes like let's say we don't need to be an hour. I think like 35 minutes, 40 minutes would be enough for me to have.
Yeah. So let's not make EU late, but let's let's stretch it out a little bit. Get our esports dollars worth out of this match. And I agree, that would be really fun to have like a full split map between these two. It's been a while since that's happened for sure.
Yeah, not the map with the most rush distance here, like as you mentioned, and all with the most bases either. So usually that probably wouldn't be the best candidate for it. And with the way Time played, honestly, I think this might just be very revealing of his game plan overall. He might just be so confident in his late game that he might be like, okay, well, I can just like get a bunch of tanks, sit back on 3 bases, take that 4th base, eventually queue all of my upgrades, just be pretty clean with my macro and mechanics. Then I'll be fine later on. I don't need to worry about the late game so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's typically when we've watched Time, that's kind of been the thing that stood out as well. He's not deviating from his game plan that much. He looks like he's just playing his standard old TVP. I think that's part of the beauty of watching him play. It's just he doesn't have to adjust too hard or prepare too hard for specific players because his standard play is just so good. His mechanics, like you mentioned earlier, are actually pretty on point. So he does very well just playing straight up and having that comfort and confidence in the later game. And he's been here a million times before, so fair enough. But I suppose so far in this game, everything is in his base, so that's a good start. Also, he's opted for the CC on the high ground.
Yeah, when they met in the groups, actually, and they played on this map, Time went for the standard opener, and then it seems like he really likes to drop Marines and Widowmines or Marines and Hellions. So usually there's always going to be something like that coming. But then he went for Raven second, and Jieshi went for Colossus deck. And Jieshi, much like he did in the previous game, he tried to go for a timing with 150 supply, but Time was already on 168. And then he just like attacked into a siege position, and he just didn't break that position. So Time against Jieshi usually goes into this type of game a lot, where Time is just sitting back with tanks and waiting for Jieshi to attack, and then Jieshi does attack, which I think is probably the mistake. I think just, you might not be confident in the later stages of the game, but put down the targets. Let's go for a big tech transition. This guy wants to sit back with tanks. How is he gonna do against Tempest? Let's find out, one time.
Yeah, exactly. That might be the way to go. Meet him where he wants to be in the late game. and just have that disgusting tier 3 Protoss army. So I'm not sure we've seen him tested like that in that scenario, so you might be onto something there. Um, However, Time has opted for a slightly different build again. I'm not sure we've actually seen him throw this one out this season just yet. But we do have Cloaked Banshees on the way. Now, there is an Observer coming out for Jieshi, but he has been a little bit distracted by these couple of units.
Yeah, Time is really good at harassing like this with just a few units and macroing perfectly at the same time. So maybe this works out beautifully for him. I mean, obviously, if you go for this, you're kind of hoping that there won't be any observer in position when you go in, so that you can really get like a lot of probes. And any damage that he can do is always like bonus. And he's always going to be able to achieve a decent amount of damage. It's so hard for Jieshi to properly, fully shut this out. I think he got a good scout here with the observer, though. He saw the move out on the left-hand side. He was ready for the Banshee in the main. Can he get enough units to defend effectively on the left side, though? Because now the Banshee, there's the threat of that Banshee flying into the main, so Jieshi has to leave units there. But Time will just regroup everything on the left side and attack with everything there. So then it's so hard for Jieshi to have enough to defend effectively against that.
Yeah, knowing is indeed only half the battle. Splitting your units is a whole another game, and he is going to try and take out the first couple of units here. He does have Blink. Charge not yet on the way. He's going to go on top of the tank and take that out. There's a lot of firepower from the Marines, though, and the Banshees are still doing some great work. The overcharge goes on the battery, but it gets taken out, and there's still another tank here. Not long for this world, and it looks like Jieshi is actually going to... Oh, I take it back. He's not quite going to clean that up.
He's going to get pummeled, is what he's going to do. Doesn't quite have enough. Those Banshees did so much damage in synergy with the Marines and tanks. Time is just so comfortable playing against Jieshi here. My god.
It's actually so much damage from the sky to those Stalkers too. He's warping in a little bit more. Obviously, no mining allowed on that third base for the moment. And the Banshees do finally have to leave as the Marines get cleared up. But there's still another Cloaked Banshee going into the main. Luckily, there's a cannon here, but he can still pick some workers off on the sides of the base there.
I know the supply is usually where you want to look, and it's pretty important, but look at that production tab. Time is getting literally everything at once. His macro is just perfect behind this. And Jieshi has little going for him now. He's behind on workers, which means he's behind on everything.
Looking pretty rough for our Protoss player here, unfortunately. This might not be his map, because, I mean, imagine the follow-up. It's just... obviously, he'll eventually sort of deal with these Banshees and stabilize a little bit, but what comes next from Time might, well, just be the end, because how are you going to have enough stuff? They might have even upgrades, but we'll have, you know, a lot of Terran on the field. We've still got tanks, we've got mines coming into the mix. It's looking good for Time.
Yeah, I think the next timing is just going to be so strong as well. Like, that's the difficult part when you start losing probes, is how do you replenish your economy while getting enough units at the same time? And also tech-wise, right? Because you do have to tech to something, even though right now we're just seeing only gateway units. If you're not going to add any Colossus or High Templars, then all Time has to do is wait until he has, 140 to 150 supply and then attack, and his critical mass is just going to be sufficient to deal with any amount of gateway units.
Mines are burrowing here. Tank in the back line to fall back to. Not a whole lot of charge lots left here, but Time is going to continue sort of dancing backwards and forwards here and being a pest. He's taking a third behind this. And also grabbing the armory and second NG to go straight into 2-2. Banshee comes in for another round in the main. And Jieshi holding on well here. He's going to try and get on top of the tank, and it looks like that might be the end of the Terran aggression. Time is just going to get what he can out of here as he steps back towards the base.
Honestly, good defense given all things. Most players, I think, would have just kind of collapsed and died here from this attack. He loaded up a prism. So he wants to put on some counter-aggression. I mean, if I was him, I'd be worried about the upcoming attack that's headed his way, because there is a lot of units. Snipes the Widowman at the front beautifully, but there is a lot of Marauders behind this.
Oh man, yeah, this is a really heavy attack, and the War Prism's going into the third, but I'm not sure he can really afford the War Bins over there. We'll see if the units he does have in the Prism will do the work. There's a few Zealots there. The Reinforcers coming in to help clean that up as he pulls away from the mineral line. maybe going into the main here. Time still pressuring on the front line as well. Decent multitask from our Terran player. Jieshi still holding on though.
Yeah, but barely. With this attack across the map, he's just kind of losing his entire army to be able to defend. And when you're this far behind in supply, it means that the Terran can also defend very easily on the other side. His economy is not too bad with 60 probes, just he keeps on losing units not in a cost-effective way either.
Going for the Colossus here behind this, extended thermal lance on the way too, and with an Immortal out, it looks like he'll finally beat that back, but only for a moment, because Time is continuing to rally across here. He's getting a full CC. Ghosts are coming into the mix as well, because he knows that Jieshi's going to be trying to get something else out here in terms of tech, but you're going to need them either way. I mean, an EMP on this army, given how much trouble he's had already holding on, going to be rough. And he comes with the units that he does have. Colossus on the front lines. It doesn't have Lance yet. And oh no, these units are getting absolutely shredded.
I love how the probes were like transferred in the middle of all this. They're like, we're not here. You don't see us. Don't mind us. Thinking about minerals.
Oh goodness. Yep. They're under fire now though. And it's a little bit too much from Jieshi. Time with another clean game on waterfall. Goes up to match point.
This is not Jieshi's matchup at all here. Time just has his number, and honestly, just some really solid play. He doesn't seem like he needs to do anything specific. Everything that he does makes a lot of sense at the time, and every aggression just does more and more damage every time he's able to finally get to those probe lines. And Jieshi, this looks almost hopeless. I mean, I know that's always how a 2-0 is gonna look like usually, but good luck coming back in that series now.
Yeah, definitely makes it really difficult. It was almost non-stop aggression from this attack onwards, and the Banshees packed such a punch here, and you're absolutely right. Jieshi held on, but barely, and he really didn't have much else going on for him to sort of pull him out of this situation. So, I mean, he did what he could with what he had, but yeah, I'm just looking so good.
And the execution of this push is beautiful. Like every single positioning, whether it was like the tank, the Widowmine, or the bio-kiting, really well executed. And yeah, when you see a game like this, you know, it's no surprise that Time has been doing so well in the region, and it speaks volumes to the fact that Cyan was able to defeat him as well last time. Fortunately for Time, there's no Cyan. He lost in PvP to Firefly twice in the groups. The guy that's given him the most trouble in the regional is now not there anymore, and Jieshi in comparison seems like a walk in the park for him.
Yeah, I mean, this is a TVP expert, right? Because his region is so Protoss heavy and he plays a variety of Protosses, it's on him to keep it fresh and you know, be unpredictable enough and good enough in his mechanics that they can't just study the infinite amount of games that he's played against them and come up with a way to beat him. I mean, Time really is something else. He's just still that bit ahead of the others in the region. It's so impressive. But I do hope that Jieshi can at least get 1 point on the board here and maybe get something happening, because one, we don't want an early night, and two, I mean, we did hype him up a fair bit. Jieshi does have what it takes. He's been to the finals a couple of times. I know it doesn't look like it now because this is going a bit rough for him, but he certainly has made it before, and Time's a tough nut for anyone to crack. So I still have hope that he might be able to make it happen on map number 3, which I think is it Moondance?
The thing about Jieshi is that, like, yes, like we hyped him up and stuff, but he was very convincing in his previous match against Coffee. Like, honestly, it was very impressive. So for Time to just shut him out completely like this, I think it's all credit to Time just being like levels above the rest of the competition here so far in this tournament.
Yeah. That's why he is the player with the most earnings. He's so successful in this region. It's just, even if someone does beat him, it rarely happens twice in one tournament. Yeah, it's just kind of hard to have the consistency to come out on top multiple times. As we've seen, like, yeah, he lost one season, but that hasn't happened again since. So looks well for our Terran player. But here in the bottom right, Protoss fans, please channel for this man to make a comeback. This is Dragon Phoenix Gaming's Jieshi.
His opponent, current player in the reds, playing for Team Kaisi Gaming. It is time. We did double refinery here on Moondance. Not always very telling that it's going to be like a super gas heavy, you know, where you put 3 and 3 and then you barely, you don't even have full saturation on minerals, but it definitely says like, okay, you want to get a factory pretty quickly and then keep on teching and then you can start pulling SCVs off from those refineries. So we can keep an eye on them. It's not standard to have 3-3 here in the first place. Usually you're going to want to reduce that gas income shortly after when you get what it is you want to aim for.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on what comes out of here. This is a map that he's actually been a little bit cheeky on in the past. I think this is the one that he did the Proxy Marauder on. Also, like a map where he's at times done an NG block just to disrupt the Protoss early on in the game. So we'll see what flavor he's going to choose this time around. We've got the factory down, and we'll wait and see what tech he's going to be throwing out. And Jieshi hopefully will have an answer. I mean, he did start off nicely in map number 1, slapping down the early aggression. So he's hoping he can do it again.
I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because yes, it was the map where in this matchup he did the Proxy Marauder, and a great thing to do when you had success with something like this, which, by the way, that was a very weird game. Like, Jieshi would try to go for DTs, just didn't do enough, right. And then there was a Raven. A great thing you can do is try to sell the idea that you're doing the same thing, but then you play it differently. Where you think like you're going to be able to gain an edge. So yeah, he opens with the double gas, but then it's really an expansion with Hellion and one more Reaper behind this being made, which is designed to counter this Zealot here, potentially, if it were there. And on the other side, we see the Twilight Council on the way right now for Jieshi. And they're doing the dance.
They are doing the dance.
Oh!
He gets the SCV. Very nice.
Sees the Hellion, so he knows about the fairly quick factory. I mean, from the command center timing, probably was able to tell anyway.
Yeah, we do have Tech Lab coming down on that Rax as the Starport gets built there as well. So see what the follow-up's going to be here. He's still got a couple of Reapers moving in here to try and get some probe kills. Potentially one of those Reapers is so bruised it does fall with the shield battery. It's a bit hard to capitalize on that. There's one in the natural as well. So he gets a scout. He sees the Twilight Council, but he's not really able to do any more probe damage.
Hey, what a defense. I would have lost 6 probes here. I would have rage quit right after. He lost nothing. Killed 2 Reapers, lost nothing, pushed back the Hellion as well. Beautifully done, I gotta say, by Jieshi. Very impressive. And especially because on this map, like, he loves rushing a third base. You got a very safe expansion at the back, the pocket expansion. And look, he's getting the Robo on time to counter the Banshee with Cloak as well. That's the best start we've seen out of Jieshi, I think so.
Yeah, really nicely done. So Time seems to like how the Banshees went in the last game, though, and he's going to be whipping those out again. And once more, we have that sort of marine tank composition on the ground. So maybe another sort of quickish move out and some more pressure on his opponent. This time, obviously, like as you mentioned, you have the third base at the back, so it's not like he has to sort of march out to defend if that's the case, but still does a lot of damage when you have those Banshees. And potentially, you know, having them split between your bases as well while you come in front with something else.
Well, the thing is, there's already Blink. That was a very fast timing, because remember, he made the Twilight Council very early after expanding. So, if he catches that first Banshee, like, and let's say, like, loses only 1 or 2 probes, that's going to be really, like, the sickest start for Jieshi. Let's see, Banshee actually waiting.
Maybe he wants the second one? Yeah, okay. 2 in 1. The OBS is headed out across the map as well, but there is the second one just about to pop too. So
maybe it's like an offbeat timing with the Banshees, where he's hoping, like, you know, you wait a little bit and then you're like, all right, well, past 5 minutes 20, if there is no Banshee, then I can send my observers out because there won't be any Banshee. But then that's when it shows up right after. So it's an offbeat timing almost. Different tempo.
Yeah, exactly. So he's actually heading across with some of these Stalkers as well. There is a siege tank in position in the main. It looks like he's actually just going to pull back. He's probably seen.
He scouted the tech lab on the starport. Then he's immediately he's like, okay, something's wrong. He comes back, but that's already 3 probes going down. He hasn't revealed that he has Blink, but I think Time should know that it's there.
Yeah, well, now he definitely knows. He's going to try and get a little bit more heading down into this third base, but there's one more Stalker able to blink there. So he's going to head out of there for the moment. But of course, that's a continuous threat now. That's something that can keep coming back. Nice cleanup on that OBS as well. Little less vision for Jieshi.
Really well done by Time, honestly, because keeping the Banshees alive and finding some kills like this is perfectly timed the attack on the expansion. If he had gone with the first one and revealed that he had Banshees, there would have been much easier defense. Now he found a couple snipes, but Jieshi's still on 54 probes to 49 SCV, so not the biggest of differences. And we do have still the one forge. I would love to see him go into a double forge earlier this time, because he's been falling behind on upgrades in every game so far.
Yeah, certainly. And if we do hit that scenario where we're in a longer game, that's made the difference for time already. So be nice to keep up. He's gone straight into class. See some more gateways being added on here as well. But both of them happily getting those 3 base economies rolling, and Time, as you'd expect, heading straight into Stim. Combat shields +1, +1 on the armor there as well. So might have a timing there, but also expect him to sort of dip straight into 2-2.
It seemed like for a while, a lot of Terrans, they would just get like 3 tanks to just make sure they were safe against Stalker's timing. But Time loves to mix in more than... Oh, the Banshee getting intercepted. There is no observer nearby. They should be able to get out. Yeah, Time doesn't stop making tanks up until he has like 5, 6. That's super interesting, because he just makes any defense even stronger. And then eventually any siege also stronger. I guess the only downside would be the lack of mobility when he finally starts moving out and going for aggression himself. Tanks not going to be as mobile, like you need to have them siege for them to be really effective.
Finally loses one of those Banshees. Gets a couple more probes, and he's just being a little bit annoying with that Banshee still. Jieshi is moving out here, and as you said, with those tanks, this is a difficult position to actually attack into, but Jieshi's securing a 4th behind this, and he can just be a threat at the front door here.
Yeah, that's not the position you want to attack into, which
Nah.
unfortunately many times I thought that was the case, and like Jieshi clearly shouldn't attack, and then he still attacked. So now, looking at this, I'm like, please, not again. We're gonna have a 3-0 for sure if he dares attack into this. I think.
Yeah, I think we saw a similar couple of things in the group stages as well, where you sort of have this same scenario, very entrenched defended Terran and a Protoss sitting out the front door that just decides to go for it for some reason. Maybe not willing to play a longer game. Ooh, doesn't quite get that meta back, but nice quick blink from Jieshi there. But yeah, Jieshi's playing it cool. He's just sort of sitting out the front here, picking off whatever comes out. Still doing warp-ins though. Getting some Immortals in the mix as well.
Yeah, there's not many angles he can come into those bases. Trying to drop and warp in Zealous to do some economic harass, because there's great turrets positioning from Time in every little corner of his base, also on the left side. And I think he's done a good job also, like not overreacting to this, always sending like the right amount of bio instead of everything. Yeah, Vikings are there. He can minimize the SCV snipes. He's actually, whoa, getting engaged into at the front. There is a lot of tanks, as mentioned previously.
Jieshi still wants to make something happen here in Time. He wants to take his 4th base, so he's sort of moving out here with the tanks to try and make that happen. Cleans this up. 10 workers killed, but the Warp Prism is gone. So at least no more to follow up from the Warp Prism just yet.
10 SCVs is good here, honestly, for him to have killed that. But yeah, he did lose quite a few units in order to be able to achieve that. But yeah, double forge behind this. I talked about it. Very important to be able to get that. Time comfortably getting higher in supply though, and as soon as he has like 180 to 200s, could easily go for an attack with Ghost and enhanced shockwaves, and that's really where he's gonna shine a lot. Raven also very dangerous. Like either anti-armor or missile or interference matrix could be really good. So far we've only seen auto turrets from it.
Fresh Warp Prism is in the oven, and that might be a factor soon, but Jieshi is going to just go for it. That's a lot of tanks to attack into though, Todd. Does he have enough? Yeah. There's a fair amount of bio here. Oh, I don't know about that.
just keeps on doing this. To be honest, that wasn't the worst fight so far, as long as he doesn't lose to Colossi. But Time might start getting confident enough to just start dispatching, one single Medivac Marines across the map to try and score some probe snipes. Jieshi really wants to go for it. Even though he's getting more upgrades and one more base, like he's gonna move in.
Oh, 2-2's not quite finished yet for Time. Neither is the EMP upgrade. We've got the Zealots on top of the tanks, though. The bio is actually starting to fall. Jieshi might have actually found his moment here. He's heading into the 4th base, which is a planetary, but is Time going to have enough to regroup with?
2-2 wasn't finished yet. He killed most of this army before Time's 2-2 was completed. That was a sick timing. And he had Immortals to deal with the tanks. He's like, all right, you like making tanks? I'll mix in a couple Immortals to get rid of them. Prism will get sniped behind, so that's no more reinforcements. But Time's supply is plummeted. He barely has any units right now. He lost 16 more SCVs. Jieshi is fighting back, and he gets the map win here.
He's done it. The comeback dream might just be alive, Todd. Good point on the board. He saved himself from being knocked out of this best of 5, 3-0, and that's what we like to see. We want the full 5 maps out of these two guys. And Jieshi, that's the first time that he's actually got to show what he's made of with getting the win there. I mean, sitting there being like, oh, that's a little tricky to attack into, but he made it work in the end.
Yeah, he had a lot here. And honestly, the specific timing it chose, like the second wave here, was perfect. Like we were seeing in production on the right side, like the 2-2 was about to complete. For Time, he wasn't there yet. His units were maybe a little too clumped. Maybe he lacked, I don't know, like some Widow Mines and also bunkers that we've seen him play with in the past. And on this map, it's hard for him to cover the space between natural and third base. So I think that's why he kind of got caught in that position. But it's really the initial defense that allowed Jieshi to go for this. Perfectly timed shield batteries, great unit positioning, and then he just took minimal losses in the beginning.
Yes, very well done from our Protoss player. He still has a shot here. It's a best of 5. There's maybe 2 more maps in this series. We're going to have a break, and when we come back, we'll see if Jieshi can continue the comeback or if Time will continue to reign supreme. Don't go away. We're back and we are in our final couple of maps for the China region of DreamHack Atlanta. Time is leading 2-1 over Jieshi, who's just battled it back and put a point on the board. We're hoping to see a comeback. I think the next map is Data C. Todd, what does Jieshi have to do to come out on top here?
I think it always starts out the same. It just has to be as clean defense as possible. This benchy gamble, I want to call it almost, didn't quite pay off here, I think. He only killed a few probes. It was a kind of big investment, kind of delayed everything for him here for time. And behind this, that allowed Jieshi to finally have his timing work, just because he hadn't fallen far enough behind that time would be able to defend. So beautifully played, but I think we kind of know what to expect now from both players. I think Jieshi will continue to try and do that, get good defense early on, and then still hit timings later on with 120 to 140 supply with Colossus and Immortals if there are enough tanks.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's very keen on beating down the front door before the game gets too long. So maybe on Data C we'll be lucky enough to get that proper long macro game between these two that we've been hoping for. But let's find out. Here on Data C, in the top right from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, this is Jieshi.
His opponents in the reds. Thank Karen. Dropped the map finally, but other than that, has looked pretty good. It is time. You see this on the minimap, he's already binding the camera locations of like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th base.
Well spotted. He is too.
I was always so bad at camera location. Yeah, you see he's bouncing from 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th base. Is that something that you use yourself?
Yeah, I do. I can't say I'm very good past like 3 bases, but I'm definitely not a super highly ranked player, so yeah, what about yourself?
No, yeah, I was terrible at camera locations. I think I was always like a high sensitivity guy that clicks a lot on the minimap to move around, which I know is wrong and like not as efficient as using camera hotkeys like these guys do. But yeah, to be honest, I'm just too old compared to 22 years old, just playing like gods, like
Kids these
beautiful
days,
mechanics. Picking everything. they're just so fast. It's insane how good these guys are at the game nowadays. I think.
Yeah, for sure. The level keeps getting pushed up. Like right where you think, okay, we've about hit the skill ceiling here. There's you see something crazy. You see those players, the next generation come out that we're talking about earlier, and we're like, just wow,
Yeah.
forever scrubs. But that's why we get to watch. Yeah.
Sometimes for Zergs, it's even more apparent because it's always been like the really fast race where you have to like inject, pre-thread, and do everything. Like I think Zergs are so sick. There's like, I mean, everyone's a superhuman at high level, but Zergs is like where you will see it almost like the most with like the mechanics and speed.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I definitely envy the skill of these players, but it's like zillions of hours of practice, so I suppose it's understandable at this point. And we do have the... Sorry, go ahead. See how this Stalker goes up against this Reaper. Gonna have a look-see and
Dark Shrine.
an output. Oh, you're right.
Alarm!
Changing it up.
You need a proxy pylon for this to work. Where does he go for it? He has to oh, that's good. That's gonna be found, surely, right?
Maybe. I mean,
he's going around. Oh my god.
Yeah, he hasn't really dipped down there. That's actually something Jieshi's really good at doing. He always checks that spot, but yeah, maybe he's noticed that time doesn't tend to have a poke in there, so he's going to choose that spot for the pylon. Reaper's going to try and come in. There is a stalker on that ledge, though, and I wonder if he'll have any chance of scouting this before it comes.
Let's see if the Agent Reaper can get in there. It might be a tell that there's no 3rd base. Oh my god, and he uses the Reaper. Very often, Jieshi starts the third base around 350, sometimes even as early as like 340. Now there is no third Nexus. That's a tell in itself, and yeah, we're about to have a drop here in the main base. He's gonna have to react very quickly after that because the Dark Shrine's about to finish. And that could be multiple Dark Templars being warped in on the other side of the map, rushing straight for those SCV lines here. Okay, he sees it.
Yep, he's gonna get whatever he can while he's here.
Warps
He'll
one
be able
back at
to-
home. Dude, where is his unit?
Yeah. He's getting the Raven. So maybe just buy a little time for that to come out and then head home with what he's got over here. He's delayed some mining time, plus gotten 4 probes, and
We
he's
don't mind.
using that supply depot there. Buy some time.
We don't mind on the other side connected, perhaps on some probes, because there's 5 probes that went down.
Yep,
And-
DTs.
Yeah, with the Raven coming out, then that's like this rush fully shut down eventually, but time is a decent amount of workers behind, and he's not mining from the expo here still.
Yeah, also he's had those workers kind of chilling on the ramp waiting for the Raven to come out and make this work. So finally that is cleaned up. Blink will be done by the time time gets across the map if he wants to do a little bit of a counter. He's looking for that pylon so that that can't be a factor anymore. But he has a nice little collection of units here and he may poke, or is he going to stay home? No, he's going to go for it.
Interesting decision, by the way. I think the DT could tell there was probably a Raven on the way, but he could have run out, and he was like, no, I'll stay and get like a few more SCVs, a few more swipes before running out of free likes, just like on Tinder.
That TT getting a little too fresh. And the Stalker's going to try and intercept these units. Oh, the
my God.
Raven! Oh, that's a really nice
Whoa.
pick off for Jieshi.
That's a sick timing to get Blink and have this many Stalkers here, actually. Jieshi playing beautifully this game so far. It's not like this rush fully defended.
Yeah, he's done well. Like, it feels like he's finally hitting his stride here in this series. DT doesn't quite get inside again, but it's another scan now that the Raven's gone. So time is pulled all the way back in his base. These Stalkers are going to come in and try and snipe a tank. They do get it. Take a bit of a beating in the process, but he's going to head out of there now.
That was a really cool attempt to go into the main. I think he knew that because there was the wall at the ramp, there is likely not to be a turret in the main. So imagine if he had sneaked in there. That would have been maybe even more SCVs dying. He could have maybe even dodged one single scan. Doesn't want to overextend. He's trying it again. And the wall was down. Okay, he was waiting with the scan. That DT at the expo should be able to get out unless there is another scan. He's almost trying to force it.
Yeah, I mean, he's already had to use at least 2 scans on these ETs because the turret range is limited, of course, on that natural base, and the Raven got sniped. So time actually hasn't had another shot doing much aggression across the map. These Stalkers intercept this force as well, and with the DT there, he is going to burn another
my God.
scan, but it's going to get away. Oh no.
Usain Bolt out of there.
Alright, he is finally going to head across the map and have another go at this aggression. Stim's just finished. We've got another couple of medevacs that can rally across as well. There is a third base up and running for Jieshi. He's got an Immortal in the mix. Is there enough Protoss here though?
Yeah, I don't think squad ready for this timing here. The battery is gonna help, but there's just a huge lack of units. He's warped in so many Dark Templars that all got sniped, except this one here that shows up in the middle of the scan, only to be taken out. And time is just gonna crush through this. And
Oh, no.
much like when they played in group stage, he's like, don't ever go Dark Templars against me.
How dare you? Goodness gracious, that third Nexus is going to go down, and time sitting on match point, doing the damage. He's going to continue moving forward here with that siege tank and his bio units. And Jieshi going to try and take another third to the left. There is a Colossus here, so time takes a bit of a pre-split there. Oh, he gets the Colossus though. There's no extended thermal lance just yet. And Jieshi, he's trying to hold on here.
The Dark Templars, so many of them have been sniped this game by scans and bio just being in the right spot. He must have lost like 7 to 8 Dark Templars already here. They just didn't quite do enough damage.
Oh no.
Drop in the main, and time moves on to the overall finals, and we're gonna have a rematch of Coffee versus Jieshi in the lower bracket.
Yeah, we certainly are. That's going to keep it interesting, isn't it? No surprise to see Ty make it to the grand final